Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and as always, a delight to have with us Laurie Cardoza-Moore. She's one of our good friends, and she's the founder and the president and the heads up Proclaiming Justice to the Nations, pjtn.org, one of the great resources and an organization that's just watching out for Israel and a bunch of other things. Hi, Laurie. Good to see you again.
Good morning, Perry. How are you?
Doing great. Well, a lot to talk to you about. It looks like we have a new ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, former governor of South Carolina. Your thoughts on that one?
Well, I'm really excited to get to work with her. You know, we've had a difficult last 8 years at the United Nations. We haven't had a receptive U.S. UN ambassador, but Nikki Haley has displayed a true She's displayed herself as a true champion for Israel. She's been very articulate in the opening weeks that she's been put in her position at the United Nations. So I'm really excited about working with her and having a whole different, it's going to be a whole different ballgame at the United Nations now that the U.S. is going to exert its leadership role once again, especially as it pertains to Israel.
Well, I want to get into that a little bit with you. It looks like this president is obviously pro-Israel. The new ambassador to Israel is looking now at moving the embassy. I would assume they're working with Prime Minister Netanyahu on that, when that should occur and how that should occur. Have you got any insight on that?
Absolutely. The only insight that I have, Perry, I was there in Israel a couple of weeks ago for meetings. And it was during the time when Trump was saying that, you know, we're going to, you know, hold back and we're not going to make any moves basically right now. But I was told by several people, I was actually pointed out the building where the new U.S. embassy will reside when the U.S. moves that embassy. I expect that, you know, every president has two opportunities every year to vote to move the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. That next opportunity, which will come up for President Trump, is going to take place in May. So I expect that if there's going to be any move, it's going to be in that time frame.
I didn't know that. What's the protocol on that time frame? How come only twice?
It's every 6 months. This comes up for each sitting president, and it has since 1995, I believe. But every sitting president has the opportunity to move the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Not one sitting president has chosen to do that. So it appears that Trump could be the first president to have that, to actually take advantage of that opportunity.
Some say it'll antagonize the peace process because it clearly sends a message that the United States sees that Jerusalem is the capital of the state of Israel. End of question, right? Well, we all know this, but I don't see, some people will say it's going to antagonize and exacerbate the problem. I think what needs to happen is that the United States of America needs to show true leadership. You know, another thing, talking about the UN, Perry, that I find interesting is the new Secretary General, Gutierrez, has also publicly come out recognizing what the UNESCO back in October refused to recognize, and that is the Jewish existence, or the Jewish tie to the Temple Mount. And he has publicly stated that there is a Jewish connection there. Of course, it upset the Palestinian Authority, and they accused the Secretary General of, of not following protocol, legal protocol, moral protocol, whatever. You know something? All it took was a new president in the White House. And look at how the leaders, even the new Secretary General, is communicating a different narrative about what's going on in Israel. And the previous Secretary General, all the years that he was there in his position, would not say anything that would offend the Palestinians. But during his last couple of weeks in office, he did make a comment about Israel being targeted at the United Nations more than any other nation. All right, so you got a Secretary General that's leaning towards Israel. You got a new U.S. administration that is very pro-Israel. We have a new ambassador to the UN that is very pro-Israel. We're going to get a new Israeli ambassador from the United States to Israel, obviously is pro-Israel.
What's this going to say to the Security Council and their recent actions?
I think that the Security Council is going to have to reevaluate their policies when they come together to vote, because it's going to ultimately affect their bottom line. And I think the Secretary General understands that, Perry. He understands that the United States puts up 22% of the UN budget. Mm-hmm. And either they're going to start moving in a direction that is reflective of the administration and its policies, especially as it relates to Israel, or they're going to lose. There's going to be some attempts to remove some of that funding to the United Nations. And I expect that Trump will follow through on that, and Nikki Haley will be leading the charge.
Okay. Any word as to when Benjamin Netanyahu may be coming to the United States for a visit?
That's going to be coming up February 15th. So all eyes will be glued on the White House, and we'll be watching him as the cameras roll as he enters into the front door of the White House instead of the side, the servants' entrance.
That's going to be wonderful. All right, I want to move over to the BDS movement and all that's going on. Give us an update there. You know, we're seeing these unrest. Look what happened in Berkeley and what's happening to our universities and just how anti-Semitic higher up academia really is. Can you give us an update?
Well, Perry, yes, absolutely. So as you know, we launched an anti-BDS resolution campaign here in Tennessee back in 2015. As of today, 10 states have passed that anti-BDS resolution. We are currently working with citizens, grassroots citizens and legislators in Ohio, in Texas, and in Georgia to introduce that anti-BDS resolution as well. I just returned from Texas and was meeting with some of the state legislators. I was amazed, Perry, at the lack of awareness of the whole boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement. Most of the legislators, with the exception of a couple, knew what BDS was. None of them knew about what was happening on Texas state campuses. And I find this to be reflective across the board in these state legislatures, that many of these legislators are not aware of the anti-Semitic incidents that are occurring on their college campuses. And these incidents violate the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Title VI, especially as it pertains to the Jewish students on campus. Yeah, you saw what happened at UC Berkeley. Right. I mean, and then in New York, we see this happening over and over and over again. And it's going to require leadership. Of course, we saw what the leadership at UC Berkeley, they came out yesterday saying, that they didn't do anything wrong. They justified their actions, letting these students. This is a publicly funded university in California. Mm-hmm. They allowed these students to destroy public property and did not rein them in. Not one person was arrested. If we don't get a handle on the activity that's going on our university campuses, no one is going to be protected. None of the students.
It's a whole new level of lawlessness that we've never seen before. And you're right. I don't know what we're going to do if we don't get a handle on this. I mean, breaking the law is breaking the law.
You arrest them. Not one student was arrested. Yeah. It's ridiculous. But if that, the UT Austin, University of Texas, Austin, a couple weeks ago, Caroline Glick, who is one of the foremost writers on the issue in the Middle East as it pertains to the Arab-Israeli conflict, who writes for the Jerusalem Post, was denied to be able to come onto the campus and to speak to a group of students because they were afraid she might incite the Palestinian students and there might be chaos. That's absolutely ludicrous. She is being denied. Students who are pro-Israel are being denied their right to have their voice communicated or their platform or message communicated on the college campus. Talk about discrimination.
Wow. So how is the BDS, anti-BDS movement going? I mean, you got 10 states. Are there petitions?
10 states.
Other states coming on board?
Online.
Okay.
And we had a total of 47 states. Legislators and citizens contacted us to introduce the resolution. So we know we've got 3 active right now that we're working on. We're waiting for the other 34 states to also initiate. It depends on the state legislature and when they're in session. But we've got 3 more states to get people on board, and it's not just a nationwide initiative that we're pursuing. This is global. As a result of our efforts, Perry, you may remember that we had 11 countries, pastors, citizens, attorneys contact us from 11 countries, Canada, one of which used similar language to what we passed in Tennessee, and they ended up passing a motion in their parliament condemning the BDS movement. Wow. So this is important. People recognize that this is anti-Semitism. This is the new platform. To be anti-Zionist is to be an anti-Semite.
All right, let me encourage our viewers and listeners. PJTN is Laurie's website. That's Proclaim Justice to the Nation, pjtn.org. Let me take a quick break. We'll be right back, and we've got some more talking to do.
I'm Paulina Leiser, producer of Focus Today. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure to check our other videos at theDove.us.
Welcome back to Focus Today. Always a delight and an honor to have with us Laurie Cardoza-Moore. She is the founder of Proclaiming Justice to the Nations. And let me encourage you to go to pjtn.org. That is her website, PJTN. Laurie, give us an update of the ministry. What are some of the projects you're doing right now?
Well, the biggest thing right now is focused on our anti-BDS campaign, which is in state legislatures across the country, but also the textbook battle, because the problems that we find on our universities are a direct result of what our children are being taught in their textbooks in secondary schools, which is fueling this hatred, this new anti-Semitism that we see going on. And of course, NRB is coming up, Perry, and I'm excited that you and your wife are going to be able to join us for our big event, the International Christian Prayer and Action Event for Israel at NRB. Right. We are going to be showcasing our new documentary, Boycott This, that we've been working on for a couple of years now. Wow. And Stan, of course, is fine-tuning and tweaking, making the last final edits so that we can showcase it in NRB. We're excited about it. It's an important project because, Perry, as you know, anti-Semitism is on the rise. We've seen, just on the internet, we've seen 114% increase in anti-Semitic discourse. Last year, I saw the numbers just from 2015 to 2016. Anti-Semitism has increased 45% in the United States. In Europe, they've seen a 36% increase of anti-Semitism. I find it shocking that it's more prevalent here in the United States than it is there in Europe. Yeah. But I believe that where we're seeing it in the U.S., where the greatest influence of it is on our college campuses. And it's, again, Perry, it's a reminder to us as Christians, we cannot tolerate this going on. Our college campuses are funded by our tax dollars as citizens of each of our states. Right. And we, as Christians, are funding campuses like UC Berkeley to stand by while this anti-Semitic discourse is going on, and on other campuses across the country, as we've seen. So it's important that we as Christians speak up, that we contact our elected officials and make sure that they are also introducing the resolutions. And if anyone in your viewing audience is interested in being involved in leading the charge in their state, we would love to hear from them to get your state or get their states organized and pushing this initiative. This is important that we educate our legislators. As I said, I just got back from Texas, and I was amazed, even in Texas, I was amazed at the number of legislators that were not familiar with this new anti-Semitic movement called BDS.
Well, let me encourage our viewers and listeners, if you want to get involved in this and learn more about it and certainly help get the word out, go to pjtn.org. That's Laurie's website. Laurie, you mentioned anti-Semitism up, 45% in the United States, and yet Christian persecution is now #1 in the world for 2 years in a row. In fact, it's up 245% in France. What does that tell you?
It tells me, Perry, that it is the people of the book who are being targeted. It's Jews and Christians. We can't just think that the persecution is going to stop with the Jews. They will come after the Saturday people and the Sunday people. They've been very clear. If we look at what happened under Hitler in Germany, they didn't just come after the Jews. They came after the other people who tried to help the Jews, people who wouldn't toe the line with the Nazis.
So this is a huge problem, and it is, unfortunately, anti-Semitism is becoming publicly accepted again. And unless we as Christians take the moral high road and denounce this and condemn it, if we don't protect the Jews, they're not just going to stop with the Jews. They're coming after Christians. They're coming after the church. In fact, at our event at NRB, Father Gabriel Nadaf from Nazareth will be joining us as our keynote speaker. He's coming to give a personal account to the participants at the NRB of how Christians are being persecuted throughout the Middle East. And there is only one place in the Middle East where Christians are protected, and that is in the state of Israel, despite what the Palestinians say.
All right, I got a big question here, and I'm not sure if we can figure this out, but you know, the President Trump is very interested in possibly unwinding the Iran deal. Iran's been firing some missiles in spite of the deal, and we have now put some sanctions on them, and they've turned around and fired some missiles again. Those missiles are clearly targeted for Israel. And we have now the possibility of making a huge statement by moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Whoa, how dangerous is all of this? And it's not that it would be a reason not to do these things, but do you think that there is coming quickly a day where the United States may be getting behind Israel and taking out the nuclear plants in Iran?
Perry, I believe we are coming closer and closer to that day. Iran is provoking us. They're going to see what Trump is made of. They're going to see if Trump has really got the chutzpah to actually follow through. This poses a huge threat. What Iran is doing poses a huge threat for not just the United States, but more closely, our friend and ally, Israel. We cannot tolerate, we cannot, as America, we've set back for 8 years, and we even helped the Iranians get to the place that they're at. We have got to stand up, and Trump has to execute justice to shut down what Iran is doing. If the United States does not take the leadership, and I'm sure Israel will be right there beside us, if we don't take the leadership role in this, Iran will become a major threat, not just to that region of the world, but the whole globe.
Okay, but what I'm thinking I see happening here is that Israel might have to take the lead to protect itself, and that the United States would back her in that move. And that would suggest that Egypt would have to give clearance over their airspace, which brings into question the Sunni and the Shiite war. I mean, this thing is really complicated. Am I wrong?
Yes, no, it absolutely is. You know, the enemies make strange bedfellows.
Yeah.
But yes, Israel would lead the charge. Israel has the capability of taking out these missile silos and these nuclear reactors in Iran. They've proven it. They've done it before in the past. And yes, I do expect that the United States will support Israel. Will they be out front and public about it? Knowing Trump? Yes, probably, of course.
Yeah.
That way the rest of the world knows that the United States and Israel are going to stand shoulder to shoulder in this battle. This is a responsibility of a Western free culture, of a Western free society. Israel and the United States are the leaders, and we have to exert our strength to send the bullies on the block a clear message that we are not going to tolerate them threatening the security of innocent men, women, and children around the globe.
All right, so the firing of these missiles, Laurie, is a clear indication their motive is not to have nuclear plants to power their cities. Their motive is to have a nuclear warhead on the end of those missiles targeted for Israel and the United States. So with them now firing these things off, I mean, this thing is coming to a head pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I have no doubt we're probably going to hear some type of response very soon. But, you know, I'm so glad the Obama administration is gone. They tried to convince us as citizens and the world that we should allow the Iranians the opportunity of creating nuclear energy. That's all they want to use this for.
Right.
Not only did we allow them to do this knowingly, Perry,
No, that previous administration knew exactly what it was doing, but we gave them the money to do it as well. That was what was so ludicrous. Those are our tax dollars. And again, Perry, when people, if the Americans who are primarily Christian stand by and allow our government to use our tax dollars to fuel this hatred against the state of Israel and against us collectively, there's going to be a huge price to pay. And Americans are going to be shocked and say, what happened? And I ask our Christian brethren, where were you when you had the opportunity to speak up? We can't just say it's going to go away and it's not going to be a problem. This is the time. This could be the church's greatest hour, Perry, to stand up and lead.
I have to agree with you. I just don't hear that from pulpits of America. It saddens me, but we'll see. We'll just got to work our way through this thing, Laurie. Listen, again, Boycott This is going to be debuted at the NRB. Congratulations. I know that's been a big project of yours. Yeah. And I want to say thank you to you and your organization, not only going out against the BDS movement, but keeping us informed of what's going on with Israel. This is a big thing, and I would hope that the faith community, the Christian community, is on board with what's coming down here, because if there is some kind of a military action on Iran's missile silos, I hope we understand what that's all about. I just got a funny feeling we may not, but I hope we do.
The submarines, having access to international waters in close proximity to the United States. If we think that those missiles can't land on U.S. soil in a major city, we're fooling ourselves, Perry. We can't bury our head in the sand. And you made a great comment, and thank you for your comments and your appreciation of what we do at PJTN. But I want to commend you because you said something significant, and I hope your audience is listening to what you're saying. Most pastors, most pulpits, this message is not going to be communicated. It is why your ministry, your network, your show is so critically important, Perry. People have to understand that a lot of people, including pastors, are not going to talk about these issues. I have had way too many pastors tell me it's too political. We're not getting into that. Well, you know what? If we don't stand, we're told, the prophets warned us, the prophet Joel, God told the prophet in the latter days, he was going to wipe out the nations of the world because they stood by and allowed their brother, because they did not take action to defend Israel. He's going to wipe them out because they were dividing up his land, God's land. We have a responsibility as Christians to protect the integrity of God's word. Yeah. And we will be held accountable, Perry, for what we did and didn't do. So God bless you guys for all that you're doing, the tireless effort. And I know not always do we get the appreciation. Sometimes we get more negative comments than we do the ones to thank us. But I want you to know I appreciate everything you guys are doing, the Dove, all the team.
Well,
guys are outstanding.
We value our partnership with you as well, Laurie, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. And I'm delighted that you and Nikki Haley have a relationship there at the UN. That is vital. So we pray for you. Thank you. See you in a couple of weeks, okay?
More to come. Yes, looking forward to it in sunny Orlando where it's warm.
Yeah, tell me about it. All right, see you there. All right, don't forget, folks, you can go to pjtn.org and check out everything there. PJTN stands for ProclaimJusticeToTheNation.org. Laurie Cardoza-Moore. Thanks, friends. See you soon. We'll be right back.